if you guys have heard, but there's an election coming up. So voting is a unique challenge. It's something that's very infrequent. Maybe you vote every 4 years. Maybe if you're lucky, you get to vote every year. We also have so much power when we vote, and it's collective, which makes this difficult, empowering, the perfect combination of a super fun design challenge. So a little bit about me. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ballot Ready, which is an online voter guide for local elections, which means we show you every candidate and referendum that's on your ballot. Before this, I ran a human-centered design consultancy. We're doing a lot of qualitative, in-person interviews to figure out how to make products and websites most useful for people. And we did work. We helped high schools create online programs that actually had a sense of community. We looked at millennials and finance, and our work was used by the White House. And before I did that, I worked at nonprofits, I taught the GED, and I also helped people find jobs. That all helped inspire me to create Ballot Ready and to look at this specific problem. In a few weeks, 39 days, all of you will take some time, maybe you'll leave work a little bit early to perform your civic duty as American citizens, and you will vote for President of the United States. But when you get to the voting booth, you're going to be faced with a ballot that looks more like this. And in response, most people do things like they guess, and literally everyone I've met has admitted to guessing at some point. This includes political science professors who have voted for people based on their name sounding cool. This includes political reporters for the Tribune who know who they would vote for in the wards that they cover, but have to guess in their own districts. The data shows people are doing this because if a candidate is listed first on the ballot, they get an automatic 5% increase in votes. This has real consequences. We're electing people all over the place that we regret later on. Not just because they don't match our values. This judge, for example, Cynthia Brim, actually assaulted someone in her courtroom and was still reelected with over 60% of the vote. Local elected officials make decisions that affect our lives every day. They monitor the quality of our drinking water, they choose funding for health clinics, and they determine the leadership of our schools. So it shouldn't be this difficult to elect the right people. Voting has some unique challenges that I'm going to go through. One is there is so much information. We only have 2 executive elected officials, the president and the vice president. Local elected officials make up over 500,000 people. If you live in Illinois, you are represented by 70 elected officials. So when it comes time to election day, when we're deciding between candidate A and candidate B for comptroller, we need to know, what does a comptroller even do? What are their stances? What have they done before? Who endorses them? There's a lot of information to present. A lot of voting information is very confusing and unfamiliar to people. Even the ballot itself, it's not entirely clear what you should be selecting. In the primary election in California, over 30,000 people accidentally voted for multiple people in one race, therefore nullifying their votes. So this kind of thing is happening all the time. We did some research on voter behavior, and this is a really important point. This is an ugly slide, though. But the idea is that for down ballot races, people don't share a world. And what I mean by that, they're not listening to the same media. They don't have the same political narrative. So they might say something like, I know there was a fight about zoning rights or something, but I don't really know what it was about. Or I know that Rauner and Madigan are fighting, but I don't really know what it's about. So if I'm talking to my friend, we might not even have the same elected officials because, my neighbors across the street don't live in the same districts as me. So it's just difficult to create this world. We also know voters make decisions in a lot of different ways. And when we first started Ballot Ready, the first thing we did was we created paper voter guides of the aldermanic candidates running when the last mayoral election happened. So what we did, we had these paper voter guides, and they were like 20 pages each. only on 2 candidates. So we paid people to read them because no one's going to do that voluntarily. We had people highlight in yellow the things that they were excited about, and in red the things that they didn't like. So maybe in this example, I might think it's really cool that this guy was 40 under 40 in cranes. So in red, I might not like his stance on something. We had business leaders who really liked that a candidate had leadership experience. We had teachers who really cared about a candidate's stance on charter schools. And we went to Kennedy King College, and we paid 18-year-olds this $5 to do this. And they were reading through, and they got to like 10th page, and they saw that one candidate wanted to instill a curfew at 9 p.m. And they're like, oh my God, circle in red, this is the worst thing ever. And that is enough to motivate them to actually go vote, right? They do not want that to happen. So the idea is different things matter to different people. That's really important for us. Also, nonpartisanship. If you look at all these brands, none of them are completely unbiased. All of them, when you look at them, you're like, they have a left-leaning bent or they have a right-leaning bent. And for us, if we're providing information to you, it's important that you know we aren't taking a side in something, especially around elections. So here's how we tried to address these challenges. This is how our site looks right now. On the left, you'll see your ballot, all the offices. If you are voting in Illinois, it goes really a lot farther down than what's on the screen. There are 59 judges alone. And on the right are all the candidates in a given race. So in this example, the blue highlighted state's attorney, these are fake candidates running for state's attorney. The first thing is like just showing people how long their ballot is. I think most people have the experience when they get to the voting booth, they're like, oh shoot, it's a lot longer than I remembered last time. So A, we do that. B, we allow you to compare candidates based on whatever matters most to you. So maybe it's biography, maybe it's specific stances. So we show you, you can click on the issues that are relevant to a given race. So for example, for water reclamation commissioners, you don't get to see their stances on abortion because they don't have stances on that because they don't have any effect on that. But they do have stances on recycling and the sewage system. That helps give people a sense of what that office is actually responsible for and what power they actually have. And we list the candidates in random order. Like I said before, the candidates' order on the ballot has a lot of effect on voters choosing them. We list them in random order so we don't preference you against one or another. We also link every piece of information on the site to its source. So this little blue book, if you click that, you'll see the website where we got this information from. That way people know it's not us saying this candidate is going to create 500,000 jobs, it's them saying it. Or it's this news article that's done an analysis. We designed this to be mobile first because where do people need voting information most? In the voting booth. You can pull it up in the voting booth. You could do the research beforehand if you wanted, but you don't need to. You could do it all on your phone right there. We have a couple unanswered questions that we have not figured out yet. So if you guys feel inspired to think about these, I would love to talk to you about them. Campaign finance and voting records. If you guys have seen a bill recently, they're very long, and often when an elected official votes yes on one, it's hard to know what that means because it might be a bill that's mostly about recycling, but then an anti-abortion group will stick in something about that. So it's very difficult to distill that in a way that's not misleading to people. The same thing with campaign finance. The way it actually works is a lot of companies donate to the candidate that they think is going to win. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a real estate development group is in the pocket of the candidate running. And there's stuff like, we know this guy has raised over $1 million. What does that really tell us? That tells us how much it costs to run a race these days. We also need to be better at providing context around local offices and the issues that affect them. What we eventually would really like to do is say, okay, we know certain things about you as a voter, as a citizen. We know you rent, we know you are a teacher, and we know you really care about a given issue. This bill is coming up. It will raise your rent by this much money. If we could know that, we would be, I don't know, like God or something. That would be great. One day, we'll get closer to that. Voting is inherently not fun. It's a thing you do alone. It's like nerdy, which is fun for some people, but not a lot of people. But we have so much power. So we are not sure about what we're going to do to make it more fun. We have people keep telling me, oh, it should be like Tinder. And like, if you've ever been on Tinder, like, it's not that fun. But also, like maybe you'll fall in love with a candidate, but really likely there are going to be a couple bad options, and you're going to have to choose the best one. In a couple weeks, there's women are getting together to do a potluck and do early voting. There are ways of tackling this, but we're not close to a solution yet. Next, I'm going to give a shameless plug for Ballot Ready. We have 39 days. This is an incredible opportunity for us all as Americans to make informed choices all the way down the ballot. No matter what you think, whether you're more disappointed about or elections or more excited than you've ever been, just know that there are going to be so many other people on your ballot that you can have an effect on. And we are trying to reach 1 million people across the US. We're going to be in 25 states. We're actually launching next week. You can go to the site now, you can log on, and we'll email you when your ballot is ready. You can tell your friends, tell them to make sure they look up information before they actually go vote or in the voting booth. And you can become a Ballot Ready ambassador. We're hosting happy hours and parties across the city, across the country, any way for people to get excited and not feel the kind of depression that a lot of people are feeling about this election. I'm Alex. At Ballot Ready, we envision a country where everyone will be informed. Thank you.